Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See if we get anyone on today. I'm here to answer your questions until there are no more questions. So ask away. Just wanted to let you know, if you go to johnhenney.com, you can get my book, Beginning Singing, get a digital copy absolutely free. So that is there. That is happening right now. So what questions do you have for me? How can I help you today? One that's been coming up while you're thinking of something to ask is this idea of mix. And what is mix? And some people will argue that they don't think mix exists. And I tend to view the voice as having mix. And I view mix as occurring on two levels. At the physiological, what's happening in the vocal folds, where the vocal folds are going from thick and the whole body of the vocal folds are vibrating. There's more contact. And then the vocal folds begin to stretch and thin. There's less contact and the body, it's just the cover, is vibrating. But that's not a binary either or. There's this blending. There's constant subtle changes every time you change a note. And it can be argued that, and I say, each note is its own register. And there are notes that are similar, but one of the mistakes we make is we think of things that are similar as the same, and they're not the same. So we have notes that exist within the realm of what we consider chest voice or lower register, and then there's this upper range, higher register. But in this middle, we have these physiological changes at the vocal folds, and we also have shifts in the acoustics. And what's happening is, as you put these sound waves into your vocal tract, there are resonances in your vocal tract. And these resonances, what they do is they boost. If the sound wave gets close to this resonance, that part of the sound wave will be enhanced. And if it moves further away, it's diminished. It's kind of like having a little mixing board. And the interchange or the relationship between the sound wave and your vocal resonances are different in your lower register and your upper register. And there's this handing over that happens in mix. And then I will say the third. So there's physical, there's acoustics, but there's a third thing that happens, which I think is really most important. And it's really where we get these terms that we argue about: chest voice, mixed head. And that is the experience of the singer. What does the singer feel? And if you will feel in your lower register this vibration more in your chest. And in your upper register, you feel more vibrations in the head. Now look, your voice is always just going this way, but our body is absorbing most of the energy. And the way that these different frequencies, as they vibrate faster or slower, it changes how they are, the sensations of them being absorbed. And you will feel in mix this lifting. I don't want to dictate exactly what you feel, but most people feel this lifting on the vertical, and they feel the resonance begin to sit up above the soft palate, behind the eyes. And that is where you're going to start to really feel this idea of mix. It doesn't really totally leave the chest voice, but it sits differently. Your experience of it is different. So that's why I talk in terms of chest voice, mix, head voice. It's not the only way to talk about the voice. It's the way I talk about the voice, and it makes sense to me. Let's see, Singing Queen, what kind of microphone am I using? You're going to begin recording your own course, and you want to purchase a good microphone. Look, I will tell you, I did a lot. I'll answer your question, but first I'll show you this. So this is a Blue Yeti microphone. And these are, I know they're less than $200. And what's great is they plug straight into your computer. So they go right into your computer. You don't have to buy any type of preamp to change the signal from analog to digital before it goes into the computer. I highly recommend that mic if you're just getting going. This is the Shure SM7B. I believe that's the name of it. Is it on here? I should know this. I know the name of this microphone. You know what? This mic is famous for being the mic that Michael Jackson used when he recorded Thriller. So if you look up the mic that Michael Jackson used for Thriller, but it's the SM7B by Shure. That's it. And you need a couple of things with it. I have this Scarlett preamp. Well, now I've gone out of focus. Hold on. I've got this Scarlett preamp, and the preamp turns it into the digital signal. So it has to sit between the computer and that. And then also I have a thing called a cloud lifter, which increases the signal from this. This mic is a bit more expensive. It's a great mic. But if you're just getting started, I'm telling you, those Blue Yetis are fantastic. Really, really good. And if you're going from a camera, you can also get, or if you're even using your phone, you know, the current phones are really, really good. You can just get lapel mics. I used those in the beginning, lapel mics right into your phone. Those things are, I don't know, less than $30. So it's well worth it. Peggy, thank you for addressing mix. I struggle with it. Mix is tricky. I've taught mix a lot. The way you're going to control mix is through the vowel. Vowels are a great way to control resonance. What stops us from finding mix is that the resonances of the voice, specifically the lower resonance that we really feel in chest voice, it wants to track the pitch as it goes higher. And we do that by squeezing at the throat and widening the mouth. That raises the value of that resonance. And what people will do is they realize that. So they're going, ma, 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 ma. Ooh, I don't want to do that. So then they really narrow the vowel. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, that fixed it. Boop, 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 boop. But it's not really loud. Boop, 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 boop. The secret to mix is vowels are not single units. Vowels are actually combinations of resonances. And the shortcut I use is to think of, when you're trying to mix, having in the throat. So rather than I, it's I, E, ooh. This stabilizes the larynx without trying to shove it down, without it going too low. If the vowel's too narrow, it's going to flip and fall apart. An exercise that I love for finding mix is B of book. B. And if you're not a native US speaker, just copy my accent. B. And just say boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Here's my mix here. Boop, 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 boop. Now, I'm careful not to go ba, 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 or boo, 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 boo. It's boop, 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 ba. You hear how it's not the shout? Ba, or boo, the flip. Boop, 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 ba. Boop, 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 ba. Boop, 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 ba. That's right in the middle of my mix. So I feel that little lift. So if mix is behind the eyes, I see your other question. Head voice just tends to feel more vertical, more up here. So if I'm here, boop, 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 it just, my sensation of it, it sits a little higher. And this brings in this idea of imagery. And imagery was something I was taught to avoid when I was first learning to sing and also teach. And I understood that because teachers would often enforce imagery on students, but imagery is incredibly powerful. And imagery is a great way to connect the brain to this instrument. So for me, this is my imagery. It may work for you, it may not. But I think of this ball of light that just sits a little higher and a little higher. And the energy is radiating from this ball of light down. Now, of course, that's not happening. But that's my sensation of the acoustic energy. And what that does is that helps me not get into my nervous system and want to feel and grab everything here. So I'm not, buh, buh. I've got that energy. It's above. It's radiating. That helps me find that spot. And then I'm also careful to keep that vowel buh. It doesn't go boo and it doesn't go ba. Buh, It's a great vowel for finding mix. There is. What do you think of East Indian vocals? I love Indian vocals. It's such a fascinating way of using the voice, and the quick turns and just the scales that sound more exotic to Western ears. One thing I was into, really dating myself, going all the way back to the 80s, is I was into this concept of world music, and I was convinced that at some point, world music would really start to be embraced here in the United States. And you're seeing more and more of it now as you're starting to get stars from other countries outside of the typical US, Canada, UK, Australia. And just the wonderful cultures of music are beginning to all blend and infuse with current music. So I absolutely love that. Let me see. I'm going to mess up your name, Kazlimi. I'm a little too far from my computer. Just wanted to say thank you for all the valuable information on the podcast. I've been going through all the episodes. I really appreciate that. My podcast is my favorite thing that I do. And I find that people who listen to my podcast are people who really connect with me. It really is like a filter. If you can stand listening to me, and there are people that have listened, I've done over 300 episodes now, and I have people that have listened to every episode and gone back. And if you can stand that, you connect with how I teach and how I view the voice. And that is wonderful. I am really huge in my own journey of education, finding people that I resonate with. Not the best, not the smartest, although I want people who are good and people who are smart, but people who explain things in the way that connect with me, that have an energy that connects with me. And I've run into people who really know their stuff, especially in the business world. And man, I just don't click with their energy. I just don't click with the way they do things. So I thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Let me see. Kathy, did I receive the one about the mic? My chats are going through. I'm sorry, Kathy. Where did you ask that? Peggy, you are welcome for the imagery concept. Yeah, so I just recorded a podcast episode with Eric Franklin. And Eric Franklin he's the developer and founder of the Franklin method. And Eric Franklin comes from the world of dance, but he is an expert in movement and in body control. And Eric has really researched imagery. He really understands anatomy and how the body works. And I've been really going through his concepts with my own voice and with my own struggles with my voice. I've been sharing quite a bit that I have been diagnosed with a a benign essential vocal tremor, which means it's a vocal tremor. So my voice will shake at certain parts, and it's not caused by anything terrible. They don't know what causes it. So, but there's no cure. So I've been using imagery, and I've also been using different ways of assessing my voice, feeling how that worked. If it was successful, then trying something again, comparing that, and really, really spending time. You need to spend time really focusing on your voice, really getting in touch with the voice, really exploring what that connection from your mind to your voice is, what those sensations are. Just humming. What does that feel like? Where do you feel that? You can't just sledgehammer your way through this instrument. The more nuance you gain with your voice, the more awareness, the more connection, the more sensitivity, the better you are going to control it. And one of the key things that Eric believes in, and I agree, is the more you know about the body, the more you know about your voice and how it's working, the better your imagery, because you can really start to body map it and understand it. So I don't believe in voice science and anatomy just for its own sake. It has to be knowledge you can use. But if you learn it, that's why my most popular course is The New Science of Singing. And that just goes through everything on a pretty deep level, how the voice works. But people who take that course come away with a new connection to their instrument. Let's see. Oh, Kathy, your question is not getting through. It's about 4 lines long. Need a mic that captures my voice from all angles while performing live. Yeah, so the 58. So let me ask you, is this mic to go through a PA system, or are you going to be performing live to put things on social media so that it's not for a PA system, but rather for recording? So just let me know. If you're doing it live, the good old SM58, and that's the Shure with the ball on the top. And then you're looking for mics that are omnidirectional. So you will see those mics, singers use them all the time. What's great about them in live situations is you can drop them. You could go hammer a nail with it and come back and it'll still work, where really sensitive condenser mics, no. So they're just workhorses, and you see them. The ball is all banged up, ones that have been in service for a very, very long time. So, well, there you go. There's a limit on the text amount. So, see, I get to talk as much as I want, but you're limited in your questions. Right now, it seems we all live in a giant easy bake oven. It's just really warm. So forgive me if you hear the buzz of my air conditioner over this, but there's no way I can do that, do this without it running. So just getting some. So this is a nebulizer, in case you don't know, and this is saline solution. You put the saline solution in here, and what it does, rather than steam, is this has the saline in the mist. This sticks to your vocal cords better. So I keep one of these with me all the time. I'm just doing the audiobook version of my latest book, and I have one of these going all the time. All right, let me see if I missed any of your questions. All right. Any other questions? You got me here for free. The other thing I'll say about mix, let me see. Oh, okay. Can't be held handheld while I'm playing guitar. Yeah. So Kathy, let me ask you again. But is the mic, are you going to be performing? Is this for a PA system, or is it going to be, are you doing it like, do you want a mic for your phone to capture video? Because Shure also makes, and I don't have the model number, but they make this great mic that pops into your phone. And it is stereo and omnidirectional. So it will really pick up everything that's in the room. So if you want to set your phone on a tripod, hit record, and just start singing and playing, it will really pick you up nicely for a live recording. I'm interested in getting the new science of singing and teaching belt singing. I was wondering if there's a you know what? I don't have a certificate of completion for the teaching belt singing course. The reason I do on New Science of Singing, and then I also have it on my Contemporary Voice Teacher Academy, is those are longer, really in-depth courses. So the teaching belt singing is more focused just on one thing. It's a shorter course, but it's pretty focused. But those two are really the in-depth courses that I have the certifications for. What is my perspective on straw exercises? I love them as long as you do them right. And you gotta make sure that you're getting the right amount of resistance. The mistake that people will make is they will think the more resistance, the better. And what ends up happening is we end up squeezing. So, and I've done this in the past, and I realized I was using too much tension. Because look, if I just use this drink straw one, well, that actually feels good right now. But there are some times this doesn't feel like enough resistance, and I jump to one of these little ones. That's too much for me. I was using too much resistance. So I will use this in some water, or I'll put my finger on it, or I will use multiple of the smaller straws. I really like this thing lately. This is the Dr. Vox. I'm not getting paid to advertise this or anything. I bought this one myself. And you can put different amounts of water in it, and it changes the resistance. I really like this. This really seems to give a nice bouncy resistance. I like the feel of it. They say you can also go the other way and inhale to hydrate the folds. I don't know how true that is, because this with the saline really, really works well. But I do recommend this. It's kind of pricey for a plastic bottle with a little silicone top. I think it's like $50, but you know what? It's your voice. If it helps your voice, it's worth it. My gosh, I've spent many, many, many tens of thousands of dollars on my voice, probably six figures. So I will spend on my voice to keep it going. What software would I recommend for composition of orchestral? You know, that I don't know. I think, is it Finale? Is really good composition software for orchestrating and getting all the notes down. But I don't use it. If you're going to do it at the keyboard, there are amazing sample libraries of orchestras now. They're so realistic sounding. It's really just up to you and how well you know what an instrument should be doing and your ability to apply the feel. But there are great sound sample libraries to do that. Kathy, it's for a PA. You know what? The SM58 really is your key. It really is the workhorse microphone, and they're cheap. I haven't looked in a long time, but they can't be much more than $200. I know everything's been going up in price, but they're still quite low. Is straw phonation helpful for balancing full chest voice? I get the sense it's better for higher range notes. The answer is yeah, it is. When you are, what it does is it creates this feedback of energy. So there's this pressure coming down on your vocal folds. And even for chest voice, it helps the folds line up better. And what we want is we want the vocal folds coming together very cleanly and efficiently. And this alignment and their ability to come together and close off that air is essential for clarity and vocal power. Where the power of the voice is when the vocal cords are closed. And this is kind of a big mind shift. I talked about this on the last Q&A, but when your vocal cords are open, what we have is we just have a flow of air and there's more equilibrium. When we close the vocal cords, suddenly we've cut off this flow and now we have negative pressure as the air flows through your vocal tract above the closed folds. Now it's creating negative pressure. And this negative pressure is then when this sound wave reaches your lips. Now this negative pressure is going to get this air rushing in. Nature's going to fill that void, and as it rushes in, it overshoots the target and creates high pressure, which now goes the other way, and we get this energy in the vocal tract. We want the vocal folds. We need those vocal folds to come together quickly and close efficiently to start that chain of energy. I'm confused about straw exercises. Do them every day to enhance your skill or just before a performance, especially with the cup. So they're not necessarily, well, let me think about this, how I want to phrase this. They can enhance your skill, but you don't want to be over reliant on them. Yes, but look, if I'm struggling, I saw the light. I saw that was there in the night by your window. It can help me find the right place. So with the cup, what the cup is for is so that you can phonate. So the straw, we can't make, so that you can change vowels. With the straw, right? There's just one sound. But with this, I can sing into it. So I can sing words into this, and it's going to give me some back pressure, and it's going to help me find the right place. So I find straws are great when I'm practicing. If I feel myself get a little tired or misaligned, I'll jump to the straws for a minute or two. Then go back to singing. If I get stuck on a note, I bring in the straws. And then they're great just before you're going to perform. I don't spend long periods of time with the straw. The straws are a tool. So how does age affect our voice, and what steps can we take to maintain vocal health as we grow older? So let me tell you, it affects your voice in a few ways, just as it affects your body. So what's going to happen is you're going to begin to lose muscle tone. So the muscles of the voice will begin to weaken. The ligaments will begin to stiffen. The covering, that collagen-like material that's on your vocal folds, will begin to thin. The vocal folds can begin to bow and not meet completely. So what you can do to maintain vocal health as you grow older is, number one, maintain overall health. Sleep. Sleep is vital. I remember when I was younger, Sleeping 8 or 9 hours a night was viewed as being lazy. The early bird catches the worm. Power through. You'll sleep when you're dead. No, you have to sleep. This is when the body repairs itself. This is when the body does housekeeping. And the cells do the cleansing and removing of toxins, as well as the brain resting and being refueled. You got to sleep. You have to have a healthy diet. I know there are different debates. I believe in a plant-forward diet. You don't have to go vegan unless you're doing it for purposes of the animals, but for your health. They have found that if animal products are no more than 10% of what you eat, there's really no added benefit to dropping that 10% to zero in terms of your health. But you want to put plants forward. You want to way cut down on sugars and excess salt, excess added oils, things like that. And then in terms of the voice, you use it or lose it. You just keep working your voice every day. I recommend, no matter how long you've been singing, every year taking a series of lessons with a voice teacher. Even if it's just for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You know, like 1/4 of the year, study with someone. And then the rest of the year, you can work your voice. And then the next year, pick a quarter and study with somebody. Stay up on your voice, stay up on the knowledge, and work your voice. Just work your voice. It'll stay healthy. I mean, look, I can't guarantee we can be stricken with certain things that can affect our voice. My vocal tremor, I'm not sure where it came from. It certainly didn't I had a breakthrough case of COVID 2 years ago, and that certainly didn't make it better. So I think maybe some long COVID. But yeah, just it's going to affect your voice, but we can slow the rate. I mean, look at the difference in how people age. Look at people you know that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. Those who don't care about their health, smoke, drink to excess, don't care about what they eat, don't exercise, versus those who've really made it a priority for their health. Now, look, there's no guarantee. Of course, the person who abuses themselves in certain circumstances can live longer than someone who takes care of themselves. But boy, when you start looking at the general population, those numbers don't hold. So you stand a much better chance. So you can keep your voice healthy. Can you use it for recording? The SM57. Or the SM58, I'm sorry. Yes, but it's not great. It's not a great recording mic. You will probably want something a little more sensitive for recording. Usually a condenser mic. Look again, these Blue Yeti mics, they're quite good and they're pretty inexpensive, but that's more of a recording mic. So they're both different. So falsetto, so let's understand what falsetto is. So when your vocal cords come together, they close, and we have this longer closed phase, so there's more energy created, and then they open, and then they close and stay closed longer. Open and stay closed. Falsetto is they stay open longer. So this closed phase is much shorter, so there's less energy. There's also less contact of the vocal folds. And the acoustics, there's not as much of the, hey, high frequency. High frequencies have more of that bite. So when you're learning to belt, finding some of that, hey, hey, yeah, yeah, waving through, yeah, yeah. It's supposed to, ooh, ooh, that's falsetto. Ooh. So, ooh. Falsetto doesn't have a lot of high frequencies in it. It's a hollower sound. It's more like an owl. Woo, woo. To find it, do a cuckoo clock. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. That'll help give you the falsetto. Could straw phonation be equivalent to weightlifting for the vocal folds? It's, you know what? I would equate it to weightlifting in water. All right? Because let's say you're struggling with weight and you're not getting your form. If you get into a pool, that pool is going to take some of the strain off of you and you can focus more on your form. And so what the straw is going to do is it's going to help you find your form, because when we sing well and we're acoustically balanced, the energy of the vocal tract is flowing to the singer or to the listener, but a certain amount is also flowing back down to the vocal folds. And it's helping them resist the air in a more balanced way. So we're not feeling that we have to use muscle to do the resistance. The acoustics are helping us do this. And what the straws do is they basically force the issue. They create that condition without us having to be dialed in. So they help us find that place, that equilibrium, and what that's like to resist at the vocal folds without excess effort, without having to be finely tuned. That's why they're it can be really helpful. Hit the like button. Thank you, Trinity. I agree. How do you approach coaching singers who are transitioning between different genres? So the most common transition between genres is someone who's been trained in a more classical tradition, but they want to sing more contemporary styles. And where this tends to be more of a hurdle is for higher voice types. Female voices that haven't been affected by testosterone. Because in classical music, the tuning of the voice it's warmer. It's that flutier sound. It's not falsetto, but it doesn't have all the high frequencies of belt. That would be too harsh for classical music. And also the tessitura, where classical music tends to sit, the notes are higher because the energy has more voice up there. Contemporary music sits lower. And if you take that coordination and that tuning, you tend to get this inauthentic ooh sound because it's taken too low, it's weak. So these singers, and I love classical music, so let's just get that out there. But when singers go to contemporary, those high frequencies are essential. And there's a longer closed phase, and there's more bite in the voice, and there's more danger of yelling and hurting the voice. That's why some classical singers, and people debate this, but I do see their point. If your whole goal is to be an opera singer, just sing opera. And there's some truth in that. Now, I have worked with one brilliant singer, Suzanne Waters, who's a top session singer in Los Angeles. She would go to a classical teacher and she sings with the LA Master Chorale. So she's singing at a high level. She's a soloist with the LA Master Chorale, a soloist with these amazing classical pieces. And then she will do demos when they're submitting songs to top pop artists. And she belts the heck out of stuff and she sings jazz. I did a podcast episode with her. She's phenomenal. She's one of the few singers I've seen do it, but she works and works and works. And I'll tell you, when she's been working with me, her classical teacher is not happy. But so it goes. Oops, I dropped my straw. But when you start working them, you're going to start having to connect them more with their chest voice. You're going to have to start getting them used to those more intense sounds. Watch the vowels. Keep them on more narrow vowels, because if they start yelling and as they say, pulling their chest, they're going to get a little scared. So just be careful with that. Dizzy Lizzy, when does the average woman start experiencing the most dramatic effects of aging on the voice? I just turned 44 and my voice feels it's getting better than it was in my 30s, but I feel deterioration. So there's no hard set date on this. The female voice can start to become premenopausal in the later 30s. But what you are likely experiencing is, as we get older, our vocal folds start to become a bit stiffer, and your voice will become a bit richer. And this stiffening is great up to a point, and then the vocal folds become too stiff. So look, you are going to experience changes. At a certain point, you're going to experience menopause. You are going to lose some of the influence of estrogen on the voice. You will have a bit of an influence of testosterone on the voice. That's why men lose testosterone, the voices start to get higher. Women lose estrogen and gain some testosterone, and their pitch will drop a little bit. Again, it's not deterioration if you take care of it. Think about the body, right? The body's going to change as you get older. But if you make health and exercise a priority, it's not deteriorating, it's changing. And you accept those changes and work with those changes, and you can sing wonderfully. And you're going to have a different voice at different times of your life. And I can't stop the clock, but what you can do is have your best voice at that time of your life. So the cuckoo clock brings you into head voice. What's the difference between that and falsetto? So you've come into the debate of, do female voices have falsetto? And I say yes, but it's different to head voice in that it's less intense. So if I was singing with a more intense head voice, whoa, that's going to have a longer closed face, as opposed to that's a little breathier, it's a little lighter. In the lower voice type, that switch to falsetto is more abrupt. When my transition happens in my voice being a lower voice type, I have more chest voice, and then my transition area happens later in my range. So my vocal folds are already under more tension for pitch. So going to the falsetto, it just sounds very abrupt, and there's a marked change. Whereas in the higher voice type, that shift happens sooner in the overall range. So you're not under quite as much tension. So a little more variability in the voice. That's why higher voice types, female voice types, in musical theater, you'll have your legit voice, and then you'll have your belt voice. And they don't really ask that of the lower voice types or the male voice. So that's kind of the difference. So I wouldn't get too hung up on falsetto versus head voice. Just use that light voice. It's great for warming up. It's great for finding your way into your upper register. It's very, very healthy. Let me see. Did I miss anyone? Looks like I've answered all your questions. Yeah, it's interesting. That's the straw. It's interesting. People have really, really cued into the straw. So and the straw is the thing. Don't overdo it. Allow it just to, you should feel a bit of a bullfrog throat, but not a clench. So it's just this nice resistance. And when you're doing the straw, it's a great time to take to do some body mapping. What do you feel? How much effort is it for the vocal folds? What is that cushioning like? Because you're actually getting, in addition, as this energy and this air is coming back to the vocal fold, you're getting some cushioning as they come together. So there's less chance of them slamming together. What does that feel like? What imagery helps? I'll tell you the imagery that helps for me is this image of a pyramid in my throat. And the pyramid in the throat is what I want at my vocal folds, which are down here, is I want this feeling of, I don't want to squeeze there. But then, as my throat goes up, if I'm singing higher notes, some constriction there is actually quite helpful. It's kind of necessary. If you don't get it, your voice is going to sound a little flabby. So a little bit of that, people will call it twang, but a little bit of that, hey, just that little bit. So I get this feeling of, hey, hey, that helps. Otherwise, if I'm really trying to feel this open throat, I got nothing. Acoustically, the whole thing's too open. I always tell people, think of a pipe organ. You can look and see which pipes are for the low notes and which pipes are for the high notes. And the ones for the high notes, they're shorter and they're thinner because those high frequencies resonate better in a smaller space. And so you can manipulate and change all that. So everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm thinking of doing this on a weekly basis. Right now I'm looking at Tuesdays this is Pacific time, Tuesdays at 10, Thursdays at 3. So let me know if you have a preference. If there's enough interest, I'll do both days. But again, thank you for joining me live. This is wonderful. I love knowing your questions. Kathy, thank you for being here. All right. Take care, everyone, and I will see you again next week. Remember, go to johnhaney.com. You can get my book, Beginning Singing. You can get the digital copy completely free, absolutely free. And get on my email list. Listen to the Intelligent Vocalist podcast. That's where you can I put everything I know about the voice on that podcast. I kid you not. I hold nothing back. So if you listen to every episode of that podcast, you basically know about as much about the voice as I do. So we'll take soon. Peggy, Yes Weekly. All right. Good to know. Take care, everyone.